What is perspective? How do we draw within it? And what kind of perspectives are there? Well, I'm about to show you through some of the diagrams overlaid atop of real-life examples, starting with 1-point perspective with a single vanishing point, 2-point perspective with vertical lines remaining parallel to each other, plus an additional vanishing point,
3-point perspective with another vanishing point below or above.
4-point perspective connected with the top and bottom points in a warped way, and 5-point perspective that is quite similar to 4-point perspective and when looked at a diagram would look something like this.
But while knowing these 5 linear perspectives is all well and good, you usually don't use those grids every single time to draw in perspective. So instead I want to focus on 3 key aspects of perspective drawing, starting with proximity. Now, let's look at a cube, which I'm drawing in an orthogonal way, meaning that the vanishing points of the subject are so far out of bounds of our working area that the vanishing lines connecting to those dots are parallel to each other. We might even be able to see that sort of view in a real life when looking at an object from a distance. But if we gradually increase our proximity or shorten the distance between us and the subject matter, you'll notice that the vanishing points of our subject enter into our view and get closer and closer to the subject itself, making it warp its geometry. And you can see here's a small demonstration of David moving closer and further away from this block that we found. Notice how the perspective shifts and warps the geometry of this object just by us moving back and forth, changing our proximity to this subject, if you will. Same can be done on a piece of paper just by shifting the vanishing points in a similar manner to how we saw demonstrated in real life. Now this is quite simple, so why not move on to a little bit more complex subject such as a human head? Here, I'm trying to build an orthogonal grid work to help me draw the head shape similarly to the orthogonal cube's perspective, making sure that the facial features, the shape of the head, and the shoulders align with the distant vanishing points. And now, if we move over and shift our 3 vanishing points closer to create a sense of close proximity, draw out a few guidelines to help us keep everything in line, the overall head shape, facial features that skew accordingly with our drawn out guidelines, you'll notice that same warped effect that was observed when we shifted the simple cube's vanishing points, creating a sense of close proximity to this head. Now, in these examples, I've been showing you a view that shows the top facet of our subject, so why don't I do one more example with a small cityscape with simplified geometry to show you a very far away, almost satellite-like view of this city area by keeping the vanishing lines parallel to each other, which you can try out yourself at your own pace, and then draw heavily skewed vanishing lines similar to the cube and the head that was drawn previously to again create a sense of closer proximity to these buildings within this city. And you can tell the difference how far away and close up these 2 examples are. As for the second aspect of perspective drawing, we get to tackle the viewing angle. Now, what do I mean by that? Say we have a horizon line with a single vanishing point to help us draw a simple geometric shape, and perhaps maybe even add 2 more vanishing points to populate this environment with more objects that can face us with their corners instead of their facades. Here, we still keep drawing things that are stationed upright in relation to the ground floor, so why not dare and tilt our viewing angle, making your horizon line tilt with it? And now as we start drawing objects with all of the same rules along the floor grid with vanishing points attached to the horizon line to turn our objects in various ways, we end up drawing pretty much the same stuff but only with a more dramatic view angle. In addition to this, why not try and turn our gaze downward towards the ground floor to a point where we no longer see our horizon line within our working area? Well, we can still use guidelines that indicate vanishing points that are far outside of our working area, giving us a grid work that can help us draw out subjects from a more top-down angle than before. And you can imagine doing the same thing, only shifting your gaze upward and away from your horizon line. This, I would say, is crucial to try and practice in order to help you get more comfortable with trying out new viewing angles that are outside your typical 5-point linear perspective grids. And look how different these drawings are in terms of your position as an observer in relation to our subjects and the environment that they're in. Now, I would like to encourage you to try and render these kinds of scenes with as many guidelines as you like. But apart from that, I want you to try and draw geometric shapes freehand, so essentially without the use of a grid floor or a horizon line. And you can be a little bit more loose here in terms of adjusting your object's geometry. In this way, you can go as long and as far as you like, generating more intricate shapes and designs to try and shift around, turn and twist, so that you can practice your intuition for perspective, depth, and space. And all of this can be done on a flat piece of paper. But again, if we look into our real world, when we stare at a horizon, we can turn our head and look down at something that can no longer be traced back to the original horizon line. But if we freeze frame on this object, we can still try and dissect its geometry by looking at how its form recedes away from us. Get rid of the existing background and draw a fresh horizon line in our minds to contrast with how this object is tilted in relation to a level view of the ground. This is to demonstrate that you can practically draw things from any angle in any position. You just have to understand the dimensional shape of your object to be able to twist and turn it to your whim as an artist. Which leads me to the third aspect of perspective drawing, which is foreshortening. This is easier for me to explain by drawing a rectangle and a circle. Now you might think that these are two different geometric objects. However, if we shift them in a certain way, oh look, it's just two identical cylinders. Only on one side we see a top view and on the other we see the front silhouette. So just by shifting these cylinders we observe a phenomena that we can call foreshortening, whereby you proportionally contract the subject's geometry in the direction of depth so that an illusion of projection or extension in space is obtained. So as an exercise, you can again go back to a cube and make several iterations of it turning in space, which can get your eyes and hands accustomed to spinning your drawings in a three-dimensional way. So practice with as many objects as you can, flip them around, find some in your house, and hold them at a weird angle to see how their geometry changes when you flip and turn them. Now this may seem silly, but you'll find this skill very useful when trying to draw a human arm that is pointed straight at you. Thanks for watching. This was a quick and condensed one. Let's see how this fares with y'all, and if you like these kinds of videos, we will make more lengthier versions, possibly some live streams in the near future. Like and subscribe, hit that bell as hard as you can, and we'll see you in the future. Bye!